Hey, what's up, Spokane? Welcome back to the Milestone Squadcast. My name is Sean, and I am here with Tamara Bush. Our other co-hosts, Philip and Jennifer, are not able to be here today, so it's just us two.
Yep.
So, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You want to give us a little bit of background info on yourself?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I just go by Tam, make it simple, make it easy. I live here in Spokane, and I'm currently a PhD student at WSU, so go Cougs, even though I don't follow college football, but it's all good. And I'm just happy to be here, invited to talk about fatherhood and fatherlessness, and
Awesome.
that's basically what my research study is about on a
Nice.
personal and professional level.
Yeah, so last time we were talking about how we're taking time to expand and unpack this topic of fatherlessness. We didn't feel like we could really make an impact and do justice to that issue by just having one episode and one show.
Right.
So this is the second one, or the first, actually.
Of
Actually,
many.
it's the first.
Of many.
Yes. Um, so you are studying about fathers and fatherlessness.
That's correct.
Wow. So how long have you been doing that?
I started my program back in 2013 and actually was pregnant at the time with my second. So yes, I was commuting back and forth from Spokane to Pullman because my program is in Pullman. And it actually wasn't something that I just started. It actually fell in my lap. So taking it a little further back, I'm all about language and culture. And so I did a master's degree in ESL, English as a Second Language, and bicultural education. And I'm very much interested in how language plays in culture, whether if it's verbal or nonverbal. I think that more of how we communicate with other people is by our actions, not necessarily by our words.
Nonverbal.
Nonverbal.
Body
And
language?
all body language.
Oh, man.
All body language. And so I was actually going to go the geeky route and do educational psychology. So it's all about the stats and numbers. I'm a numbers girl, love it all the way. But as time comes on, I was talking with my professor, and he was mentioning about vulnerability, and I'm like, vulnerable? Ooh, no, we're not even going there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm not going to be opening myself, as a book in that kind of way. And when you're in this program, like in a PhD program, it does put you in a spotlight in a very different way, and you start looking inward of various different things. Exactly right. It was uh-oh. And so I ignored it for about like a year. And then finally, something fell like in my lap of an experience of something I read in a book. I don't remember what book. All I just remember, it just impacted me. And I'm like, you know what? This is where I need to be. So little by little, I just ventured out like kind of like a groundhog was peeping out every once in a while to kind of see as to if this was something that I needed to do. But as a person of faith, little by little, then things started coming to me.
God was tugging on your heart.
Exactly.
So real quick, do you remember what that line was in that book or whatever?
Actually, no.
Really?
I don't. All I know is like I'm just gonna follow.
God just took that and just put it right on your heart.
Just continue with it.
Wow.
And so I started talking with dads wherever I was, whether it was at the park, at the grocery store, or what have you. And just by giving like words of inspiration and encouragement, I noticed I was captivating them. And I'm like, I can't speak. Okay, my husband will laugh at me with this. I say manese, like their language.
Manese.
Manese. And so
language.
Language. And so as a result, I started to pick on buzzwords as to what was said to me to kind of reflect it back to whoever I was talking to. And I, asked a few people that I knew that were in Spokane just to talk with them about fatherhood. And it was kind of on the verge of fatherhood and multiculturalism too, because I myself am in an interracial marriage. And so not only dealing with that kind of unpacking of fatherhood, but also cultural as well too, so that added another piece to it. So as I started to talk with a lot of men, I come to find and realize that there was an underlying thread. And the thread was that there are things that they were never taught or role model, and a lot of it boiled down to forms of emotion, forms of vulnerability, and also
There it
value.
goes again.
And value.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, so here I'm right now.
So you mentioned English as a second language. Does that mean you're not from this country?
Originally, no.
You say you're from far away. So
From
where is
far
that?
away. Originally, I'm from St. Lucia, the island of St. Lucia in the Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah.
I got a
have an
homie
accent.
from St. Vincent.
Really?
St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Sweet. Sweet.
You know about that place?
Of
Okay,
course, yeah.
Okay.
And plus, I actually more connected to Barbados because my grandparents were in Barbados, and I would travel every summer with my sister and I to go visit our grandparents.
So you grew up out there in the Caribbean?
Kind of. Until I was at the age of 5, and then my mom, it was just my mom and I, and that's the story behind that. We moved to England, and then from England to the United States.
Wow. And so, as God was putting this on your heart, and you were starting to like just connect with guys in the community, were you doing any reflection on like your childhood, your experience,
Big time.
and then even like the culture of England and then where you're from?
Not so much England, but more so the Caribbean, because we do have a lot of women that are single mothers. And my mom, she was one of them. And I don't know the whole story behind why my biological father and her weren't together. But, you know, my mom had me, and then eventually she had my sister, and then it's a whole other story down the road. But I just remember that as a child, even though I had male mentors like uncles that were in my life, I always yearned to have my father.
You always yearn to have your.
My
Where
father.
is he? Why is he not here?
Well, he died when I was 16 years old. So that won't ever happen until I get to see him again.
Yeah. And so you probably dealt with that though up until that point when he passed, like through your childhood. Where is he? Why isn't he here? What happened?
Actually, it actually hit me more when I was a teenager. And even today, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I don't have like, you know, dad issues, you know, as an adult, but it's just that how can I turn that pain into something that I can be able to be hopefully a help to others, for dads that are out there, regardless of where you come from or where you're wanting to go, but to be that integral part in a child's life, in your child's life.
Yeah.
And even you're not with the mother or, you know, the spouse or however that relationship you have, to always be a part of that child's life because you matter and you're very important.
100%. So I want to go back to, like, it sounded like you were on this journey and God put this thing on your heart and you were starting to kind of explore it a little more. And obviously now you're going for your PhD. And so how long ago was this when you were talking about that situation at that time?
Well, that was probably about like 4 years ago when it kind of like knocked me in the head with where I needed to go. And you know, when you struggle with God, you fight. You just fight. And that's what I did for
Yes.
a little bit. And then
wrestle
finally,
with God.
and then it was just like, you know what? And there were times I didn't want to read anything. I didn't want to do anything. And then where it came more, like in my face is when I met people, when I met dads along the way. Like recently, a few weeks ago, I met a dad in the park, and he was asking me randomly enough about how he can be able to be more prevalent in his daughter's life because he was a stay-at-home dad and his wife was working. And so I just gave him a slew of resources and encouraged him, like, hey, you know, for your daughter, she's a bright young, you know, little girl, but you want to up your ante a little bit. But just remember, you're just as important in her life as her mom is.
You want to say that again and look in the camera and say that to anybody that's listening?
Oh, definitely. So for you dads out there, you are just as important as the mother of your child is. And you could be able to do whatever you set your mind to. So don't think anything different.
So, based on that statement, would you say, in regards to like your research, that men feel devalued, fathers feel devalued and unnoticed, unappreciated?
Very much so. Especially like looking here in the United States. I mean, if you look at a lot of programs, they're geared towards women. I mean, hands down. Even here in Washington State, you know, if something happens between a husband or wife or spouse or partner, they tend to go towards the women than they would go to the men. Not saying that the man is not able to do just as good or even better, but it favors the women. And I'm not saying in the way of like they're not as capable, but we gotta at least have some type of a common ground somewhere. Not in the middle, because I don't think there is a middle. You just have to have some form of a common ground, so that both parties are able to be prevalent in that child's life and not use the kid for leverage.
Say that again?
Do not use the child for leverage. That's one thing that really irks me. I say it this way, the adults can figure their stuff out, but don't mess with the child. Just,
Yeah. So, what happened that caused you to, like, you're writing something, a thesis or of some sort?
Right now I'm in the beginning stages. I'm in the prelim stage, so that's basically having your questions and then more research towards writing before I get to the dissertation part of it.
The
So.
Dissertation, that's the word.
Big dissertation.
That just sounds like a big old
It's
work
a
of
lot.
research and
It's a lot.
time spent.
It's a lot.
So what brought you to that point to want to write that dissertation on this topic? And you mentioned in your email fathers and fatherhood in the 21st century. So that's like a huge,
It's huge.
that's a mission right there. That's a call.
No,
in
it
your
is.
life.
It is a mission because of I just got tired, or just like this is where like the mama heartstrings got pull a little bit. When you hear stories and you see stories of children wanting to be with their dad, and moms or what have you, that because of whatever emotion they have within, they will use the child as basically bait. If they want to get back with the person or get at the person for whatever that has happened. And on top of that, it goes even deeper. Look at our society today. You have children that are health-wise obese because there's a father not prevalent. It's not saying the factor, but it is a factor. You have issues where there are a lot of youth getting into trouble.